video. I want to start this off if any women are watching. I am not trying to be a pick-me. I am not a kidney stone in an oyster in the sand, okay? These are just my thoughts. Anyone and everyone is welcome to educate me if I'm giving off any sexist behavior. Okay, now that that disclaimer is out of the way, if you're watching this video, you've probably seen what men are viewed as a whole. I dog on them, you dog on them, they dog on each other in some less fun ways than others. I made a video about the bear versus man conversation that people were having a couple months ago. When the question was posed to me, I actually chose the man, just because I thought it made more sense in terms of survival. I was just kind of thinking what the man could do for me instead of what he could do to me. Still, I was explaining why others chose the bear in that video because I saw an overwhelming amount of people who forgot what empathy was. And I got a really long comment on that video that inspired me to make this video. I'm gonna summarize it, but you're welcome to pause and read it. Men aren't really seen as human beings in the world's eyes. Nobody really thinks about the fact that if not for the extraordinary men that made the necessary sacrifices to build society from the ground up, making it so where we can have all the luxuries and comfortable livings to where people can bring up topics like this and turn these non-issues into actual problems when they really aren't. But at the same time, while all these standards are placed on guys performance-wise, having to keep society afloat in general, we're expected to keep doing that even though most of the world doesn't really care nor seem to appreciate our existence. Being a man, a lot of our problems never get talked about in society, and when such problems are addressed, they're never really brought up again or end up just being forgotten over time. I left out a lot of the misogynistic takes that were squeezed in there, but unfortunately we live in a very heavily gendered society, where if you're recognized for your presented gender, you're expected to adhere to specific roles. I have noticed that men's roles has gotten a little more jumbled around than women's roles. Typically, women's roles are now you can be a housewife, which is fine, or you can go into the workforce, which is also fine. But for men, it's a bit more taboo for them to leave the workforce or to literally do anything else besides work. Men don't really seem to be allowed to stop working. I used to have some male friends that would say, being a woman is lucky, and I would giggle to myself and ask why. They explained that we're allowed to sit back and relax while men do everything, whereas if a man did that, then he's considered lazy or he's taking advantage of those women. Now, do the pros of being a woman outweigh the cons? Up to individual interpretation, but this is actually one of the big reasons why I don't believe men's problems and women's problems are comparable. If I had to think of an analogy, women's problems are kind of like if you have a boulder on your back and you're trying to swim away from crocodiles in a lake. Men's problems seem more like to be swimming upstream in a rushing, flowing river. They may be comparable because we're both in water, but our struggles differ from one another. If both of us stop trying, we're dead. Whatever position you're in, you're going to feel like yours is harder because you're actually going through it instead of just hearing it from someone else's perspective. Men, mainly the ones consuming social media, have very serious insecurity issues because in recent years, technology has gotten to a point where we don't really need the male genitalia anymore. As a human race, we can still reproduce without it. So now, men aren't really required in someone's life anymore for their voting rights, bank accounts, recognition in someone's family, or reproduction. So now what? What's their purpose? This is where people like Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, and Good Bro, Bad Bro come into play, where now your purpose is to blame women for taking those things away. Now your value as a man is tied to how many women you've slept with, how much money you make, how many cars you have. Why start a new hobby if it's not making you money? Why date this woman if she's not a virgin? Why get this car if it's not fast enough to beat that one? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? You're a man, aren't you? Act like it. Why are you crying? Boys don't cry. What, are you gay or something? Hey, are you okay? You don't look very good. Try mewing. How you look is the biggest one I've seen to be tied to a man's value. It's even more unfortunate that it's not even companies trying to sell you a product, like ads for women in the 1900s. It's just other dudes who obsess over something as fleeting as looks. Yes, I know that women are also pushed to adhere to this insane beauty standard, especially in other countries, but looks maxing is a modern thing. If you don't know what looks maxing is, it's all about improving your appearance to boost your confidence and attractiveness. It involves things like working out, a skincare routine, doing your hair a certain way, wearing clothes a certain way, and even considering cosmetic surgeries to adhere to this very tight bubble of attractiveness, which sounds fine on paper, great even. You know, self-care, prioritizing your hygiene, and being the best version that you can be. Sound fantastic, right? Well, the people that I've seen that looks max just take it way too far, even making their body and face worse, all in the name of trust the process. I was watching some other creators talking about looks maxing and anti-aging, and some common advice is to wear sunscreen inside and spray water on your face in the morning. Those two I already do, and I have for years, but it still irked me because of the reasons they stated why it's good for you. They slow down your aging process. It helps you keep your youth. I hate to break it to you guys, but no matter how much sunscreen, water, rocks you use, it's not gonna help you age in the long run. We all age. You're supposed to do those things because it makes you feel better, because it makes you happier throughout the day, so the sun doesn't harm your skin as much, so you're more awake in the morning, feeling refreshed, because your mental well-being directly affects how you look. Even if it's silly, I do really like how self-care is being masculinized, so more men are willing to participate. But I wish so badly that it wasn't making them self-conscious in the process. Women have had to deal with this horrible beauty standard for decades. So it saddens me that now men have to go through it. Cause that shouldn't be the case. Even if you're not the one who goes down this vicious rabbit hole, it's scary to watch your friend completely obsess over something so unnecessary. Men shouldn't have to deal with these stupid beauty standards. And I condemn the women who find joy in watching men suffer about their looks in the name of revenge, just because we're going through it too. That's what real feminism is. I don't want to face men's problems, but I definitely don't want men to face ours. Cause they both suck. Both are things that nobody should go through. If you want equality, then women should get drafted too. No, because some people aren't cut out for war, including men, and they shouldn't be made to. If you want equality, then I should be allowed to hit women. No, because hurting people is wrong in general. That should be common knowledge, and I really hope our younger generation knows that. If you want equality, then women should pay on the first date. No, you should just pay for yourself. I think it's silly to sacrifice something for someone you don't know, even if it is just $5.99. If you want equality, then women who falsely accused should get double jail time for the accused. No, it will deter people from reporting and will make them scared to get punished for it. Because there's already so many cases where people don't get the justice they deserve. However, I do wish that men's stories was taken a bit more seriously in the courtroom and everywhere else. That's the last thing I wanted to cover. North Coast crisis team reports that an estimated 91 victims of SA are female and 9% are male. I believe this percentage of men is higher, but men aren't taught to recognize it as much as women do. And an old guy friend was telling me what happened at a party the previous weekend. He was blackout drunk, and a sober girl dragged him to a room, locked the door behind him, and the next thing he remembers is waking up with his boxers off. Yeah, I had to explain to him, step by step, that is called not okay. And the only way that he understood was when I asked, how would you feel if your little sister went through what you did? Which is so strange because, after all, I, a girl, have been taught that from a very young age. Many men fear being judged or stigmatized for reporting such issues, especially if they end up being seen as weak or vulnerable. Men are expected to be strong and stoic, making them hesitant to reach out for help. Some men don't get taken seriously or believed in, especially if it goes against societal gender norms. Men are typically expected to keep their problems to themselves. Alpha males tell you to not reach out to your girlfriend in fear of appearing soft, which, by the way, if your girlfriend views you as weak for opening up to her, dump her. Find a better girlfriend. Contrary to that, I've also had my typical guy friends tell me that they don't really talk about that sort of thing with their friends because men don't talk about emotional things like that. So if a man gets assaulted and he can't go to his partner and he can't go to his friends, why even try at the police station? I wish our society wasn't so gendered, that your sex isn't everything that you are. Manhood is something that young boys and men take way too seriously. As much as I hate when men push all their problems onto women, I know that if I sat down, thought about it for a minute, I'd understand that they're hurting and men aren't really taught to how to deal with their emotions besides lashing out at everyone. Anyone that can be a punching bag. If I sat down with one of these men, I probably wouldn't be able to change their minds on how they view women, but at least I would know that they have someone to empathize with. Because as I've learned, there's not many people who do that. I still disagree with them, but instead of getting angry, I just feel sad for what a young boy has to go through to feel like a man. Because you are so more than simply a man. Whatever gender you identify as does not define you as a person. I find it weird to need to do things to feel manly, but I know I'll probably never get it. And I know this probably won't reach to many men who need to hear this, but you are man enough. Find good friends who agree with that, and find an even better partner who makes you feel like that. Okay, that's it. Laters.